getting a little full now. So I'm making this video for a good friend of mine, Jim. Get him started on the road of progressive reloading. So just debulging some brass right now. This is the stuff that we shot this morning and last weekend. Some of that range brass that we found. A little discolored, and more importantly, the primer is, it's kind of hard to see here, but it's actually sticking out of the case. Same with this one here. So these, both of these actually are trash. Not too bad though. Only 2 rounds that were bad out of, I don't know how many's in there. Quite a few. So we'll get these thrown into our collection here. Got quite a few brass in here, so we're gonna get these loaded up and move on to the press. Piece of cardboard in there, cut to 1/2 inch diameter. It really really helps with making sure that the cases come down in here in the proper direction. Without that piece of cardboard cut with 1/2 inch diameter holes, a lot of times these will be flipped over. So couple other real quick things here. These ribs in here, polish them up. Also, polish the bottom of the shell plate. Makes for just a little bit smoother operation. Another quick thing, on your indexing rod here, the end of it, this had little burrs around here. Take those burrs off, put a quick polish on it. Very, very light coat of lube. I just use graphite. Makes a world of difference. We're going to get the powder station charged up, weigh out some charges. We're hoping to get somewhere right up between 5.3, 5.5 grains of long shot. We're loading 9mm Luger today, so this is what we're going to load up. Seems to run pretty well. Give me just a minute here, we'll get going on that. Before we get going on that, one common failure in one of my other videos. This chain broke on me. Go to the hardware store, get a better chain. So I bought a bigger chain, bigger diameter chain, drill these 2 holes out here, drill this hole out here, and put them in. It works much better. And if that one happens to break, you buy it in a 6-foot length. So that works good. The other thing with the priming system on this bolt head right here, you have to take all the numbers or lines or whatever this has on it, grind them flat, polish it up. You can get inconsistent seating depths when this arm here hits the face of this bolt to seat the primers. So make sure that's nice and flat. Alright, we'll get some powder measured out here. little light on the charge. I'm going to try something else here. Actually, I might just run it with that. What we do here is we run this through several times. The powder will kind of stick inside the throat here. So you want to make sure that what's going to stick is going to stick. Right now we're sitting at 4.8 grains a long shot, dead center there. That's right where I want it. Well, I could go a little heavier, but 4.5 grains was giving me about 1,010 feet per second. So that should get me right where I want to do, be just for action pistol stuff. So I'm going to take a couple more measurements. Make sure that we're coming out even every time. That one was right on the money. We'll go one more. Tap it just to see if it changes with anything else falling down in there. Right on the money again, 4.8 grains of powder. So that is plenty good for action pistol stuff. One thing that I like to do is just kind of give this thing a quick shot of air. Any powder I may have dropped gets down in there and kind of makes a mess. So pull this out. Let me back this up just a little bit so you can maybe see this better. The priming system. Take this thing apart, knock any little burrs off, hit it with a file, hit it with some 1000 grit sandpaper, make sure this thing is just absolutely smooth. Make sure that it doesn't hang up at all, and drop it in. Alright, we're in there nice now. Little arm that you move over kind of holds it in there. Take your shell plate, drop your shell plate in, spins nice and free. Indexer. Drop your indexer on there. It's got an O-ring on one side. O-ring goes down. Put your O-ring down. One mistake I've seen is people put too much pressure on this. Very light amount of pressure. Okay, indexing rod. The long side of the shoe goes up. Make sure that's turned off. Just run it around a few times, make sure it's looking good. Now, very important piece. I have a 9mm case. I have drilled the hole out to the exact size of the primer pocket. Drop this in here. Go ahead and run it through the sizing die, doesn't hurt anything. Over, see if I can get you guys a better picture here. Over to the priming station. The ram, you can barely see it right there. The ram, run the ram up. Notice the case moved inward a little ways. Now if you kind of look down through the top, you can see down through this, and what this is, right here I put a just a resizing die in there, or not a resizing, excuse me, but a factory crimp die. Just took all the guts out of it. The reason I took the guts out of it is just so it would simply center the case without resizing anything. So all I want to do now is make sure that my RAM goes up in there nice and smooth, and it does. So I'm going to take my little pick, and I'm just going to pull this little arm in here just a little bit, just so it touches that shell plate there, or the case. So when this comes around, it can't move outward. There we go. That's right where we want it. Okay. Now, oops, don't move that. I moved it. Run that up. Run it down. Bring it around. Do not run this all the way up. All you want to do is get it to where it starts to index out of there, and then just pull it out. There's another little shoe right here that holds that in. Reason being, if I were to dump powder in there, it would go on the floor. Okay. The hopper. All this nice cleaned debulged brass. All right. I don't see any in there that are upside down, which is a good thing. There might be one that I just can't see right now. There is 4 tubes. So, alright, we'll take just a quick break here. Get right back at this. This chain, got a little spring down here. To get this adjusted, RAM needs to be totally the up position. Pull the slack out of it. Push this through nice and tight. Bring your ram arm down just a little bit to where it grabs the next little ball there. Oops, one more. What you want is just some tension on this thing. You do not want to collapse the spring. You will break this. The factory one breaks no matter what you do, it seems like. So anyways, that's how you set that up. That'll operate the powder dispenser. Put your lid back on it, and there's a trick here. We're going to get the primer tray set in here. So I would recommend the explosion shield. The Lee Loadmaster says you can only load CCIs and Remingtons. Do not load Federals or Winchesters. And there's a good reason for that. The first thing I tried to load was Federals, because a primer's a primer, right? Well, not the case. I blew 2 of them up the first day. Luckily, it did not set off this entire thing here. I'm going to move this camera angle down just a little bit. So I take a little tiny Allen wrench and I just set that right there as I install this, otherwise all your primers are going to dump out. So it's pretty simple, but just pop it in there, shake it around, make sure that your primer feed here gets all nice and full, and it is. One thing I can do here is you can shake this thing, shake it around a little bit, you know, make sure they're all down in there. You pull this arm back, pull it forward. Hey, look, there's a primer. We're good to go there. So, let's see here. What are we missing? Not much. I think we're just about in business here. So, I'm going to get some bullets over here and we'll start loading. One thing I forgot to mention, with this explosion shield on here, when you run the ram in the up position, this whole primer tray goes behind this shield, so if it were to blow, it would blow away from you. At least we'd all hope so. When you're running this ram, it's important through the mid-stroke of the ram. Notice how your primer tray kind of bounces around. It's actually important to, through the center portion of this, to run it fast. You need to bounce those primers. They need to bounce hard. If you don't, they won't keep dropping down that little tube, and then you'll wind up with some missed primers in the cases. And then when you come around to the charge station here, it just dumps powder out the bottom of the case. So something to keep in mind. And always put your safety glasses on. Alright, we're in business. Being stubborn. Okay, let's take a look at one of these. Primer's sitting, the seating depth is good. I've already checked the overall length. This has been set up for a while, so these are turning out nice. No missed primers so far. Things are going good. So just a real quick overview here at the top. What I've got is I've got the resizing decapping die, the factory crimp die with the guts taken out. This is of course your powder charge die, opens the mouth up to the case. Bullet seating die, and then the factory crimp die with the guts in it. So that's pretty much the setup there. Working good. I like it. One really important thing, I can see powder in this case. I don't know if you can see it on this video or not. Every time one comes around, I look in there. You can see it real simple, at least I can from here. before I put that bullet on there. Okay, make sure you got powder in that thing. If you don't have powder in that thing, you don't want to get that thing stuck in the middle of the barrel. So always important to look at every one. One last little tip. Your primer tray. You need to keep primers showing in this thing. You know, when you start getting down in this area here where you're kind of running pretty low, you need to fill that thing back up. The weight of the primers helps keep it helps keep this thing full of primers here. You start losing that weight behind them and they don't push in as easy. I've had some misfeeds, not misfeeds but no feeds. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this one. Hope this helps, Jim. Enjoy. That was about 25 rounds, and I don't know how long that took, just a couple minutes. I've heard people doing 750 rounds an hour. I could easily see that very possible once you kind of get in the rhythm. Alright, there's 100 rounds. Not one single primer issue. Only had one case that got upside down in this, where normally there's 4 tubes here. Normally I would have had about 4 per tube. So that's that little trick with the cardboard in there. That works really well. So very thin cardboard too, not that perforated stuff. So I think that about sums it up, everybody. Again, I hope Jim, I hope this works out well for you. The rest of the setup, you know, as far as the dies, setting the dies up, just follow the directions. Pretty simple stuff. This bullet or the case feed can be a little bit tricky, getting it to where it shoves the case far enough in. Little tinkering, no problem. I had at one point a bullet feeding setup in here too. Let's see if I still have it laying out. Yes. The bullet feeding setup. This mounts underneath your bullet seating die, and there's a little some pieces that come with this that hook it up. Anyways, what this does is a big tube here, load that full of bullets, and this thing will just take bullets and just slide them in. It's a piece of shit, don't ever buy one. No matter what I did, I couldn't make this thing work, so save your money.